So I'm going to call it time to start. It's 7 after. Let's go ahead and get started. That way, I know that you have enough time to present everything that you want to share with us because I know it's going to be fantastic. So, welcome everyone to the final spotlight of Hypnotherapy Uncensored of 2024, guest hosted by Claudia Rickard, friend and colleague, and also fellow current North Carolinian hailing from England. Let's see. You are an accomplished speaker, author, emotional intelligence development specialist. I'm going to start listing these off. Um, you have award-winning certified consulting hypnotist under your belt, master NLP practitioner, advanced blast technique practitioner, certified havening practitioner, and of course, you are the creator of the Bunny Talk process. I also know you do some EFT and Kinetic Shift and maybe a few other things that may come up today. But the Bunny Talk process is, I think, what you're primarily here for, which is a groundbreaking communication skill designed to anchor safety, love, and security for children. And I'm going to let her take it away in here just a moment, but I wanted to let you know that for those of you who sent me healing intentions last week, because I literally busted my ass on the stairs. Thank you. I'm healing up really, really rapidly. And excuse my language. I'm already like walking around. I don't even really need a cane hardly at all, but I totally like I broke my tailbone and fractured one rib. It was painful. But I'm doing really good. So thank you so much. Your kindness and support mean a lot, and I'm just feeling oodles better. So like that group collective healing stuff absolutely works. And I also want to remind you, and I'll post the link in the chat, that if you find these monthly spotlight events informative, amusing, educational, or just a fun time of communicating with your fellow colleagues and just, enjoying that sense of community, then I'm going to give you a link so that you can pitch in $2 notes of appreciation, as Lori Hammond calls them, to just help offset the time, effort, energy that goes into organizing all of this. And I do want to keep these at a donation basis, a very tiny donation basis, because I really want it to be accessible to everyone. I don't want anybody to feel like they can't access this. So without further ado, take it away, Claudia.
Thank you. Thank you so much. So okay, who remembers playing shadow puppets when you were a kid? Ever did shadow puppets? Yep. Okay. So this is how it started. My daughter and I, she'd get into bed with me early in the morning. My husband was in the Royal Navy. Okay. So he was away a lot, 10 months at a time. And we have 4 children between us. And then we had our daughter. So she's like, say 2, 3, and she gets into bed with me. I mean, he was even away. I remember one Christmas he was in Afghanistan. And I know what's a Royal Navy person doing in Afghanistan, but that's a long story. So we would play. And I introduced her to shadow puppets. And then it just became our little thing. And she had this adorable, all children have this adorable little voice, don't they? And she'd go, hello, hello. And we would start doing this, now talking a baby voice as well. And it was lots of fun. And I taught her the days of the week and the months of the year. And then we did maths, and we did all sorts of things as she grew up. And then we kind of stopped doing it. I mean, she's 18 now, okay? However, when she's nearly 13, we moved to America. 2019, we moved to America. It is my happy place. I love America, okay? I lived here when I was a child. And yeah, then there's COVID. And she did not go to school all of the grade 8 and 9. There was no school. It was online, and they were all wearing hoodies, or the camera was off. And it was a tough time for her. I did get her a COVID cat. However, she started self-harming. And all of us doing what we do, that's not nice for because we think, oh, we should know what to do. We possibly can't have that in our household, surely. Yeah, I did. And it was rough. And then one morning, it's New Year's Eve. She comes through to my bedroom, sobbing. Okay, it's a horrible sob. It's a very scary sob. And I get out of my bed, I go to her bedroom and I hold her. And I go, can you tell me what it is? What is it? And she can't tell me. And then don't ask me what made me do it. I got Mummy Bunny out. And she got her little baby bunny out, but with the little ears down. And then she told Mummy Bunny what had happened to her. And because we'd always played, I didn't, you know, it was always fun and it was always loving. There was no like, why didn't you tell me before? It was like, okay. And it was loving and nurturing. And you all know what that is. I had no idea that all that time ago, I had been anchoring in safety, love, and security, unconditional love, because she felt safe enough to tell me. The bunny, she felt safe enough to tell the bunny, not me, the bunny. And I was there for a good couple of hours until she said to me, I'm okay now, you can go now. So I went. But the two bunnies together had figured out what they would do. And since then, we go for walks. And even we had this last night, actually, she'll come through to me and we have long discussions and she can tell me stuff now. She talks to me. And I feel honored. She overshares now. Okay, she's 18. That's fine. I don't mind. I feel honored that she does that. And I have actually also since said to her, because I'm sure many of you know that I see people living with dementia as well, is that I've said to her, I said, darling, if I ever get dementia, will you talk to me with the bunnies? Because I may forget you, your name, but I will never forget the feeling of the bunnies. We did it for years and years and years because we anchored that in. That's our communication skill. And I was training with Cheryl Ellman, sleep talk. I don't know if there's any other sleep talk practitioners on here. It was something I always wanted to do from when I was working in England. And I was telling her this story with my daughter. And she said to me, Claudia, she said, you've got to do something with that. So I said, well, everybody can do shadow puppets. And she said, no, you have to do something with that. So I went, okay. So I did. I wrote an ebook. It's called A Parent's Journey and the Bunny Talk Process. So I put in there how to create shadow puppets. Because everybody can do it and it is for parents. And I thought that would be that, you know, I wanted that out there and I knew I'd done it. And I put in lots of useful tips and tricks for parents. It's very short and easy to read. If any of you get it, the link, it is in my website, but it is quite amusing. My ex-husband wrote me a lovely 1-star review. So I know, because I have actually put in there best practice for the children for, you know, when there's a divorce. So best way the parents can help for the children when there's a divorce, and then best practice again to help children as being a step parent, because I've got 2 stepchildren within that 5. So it's and it's quick and easy, bullet points, and actually it's got a lovely poem in there that my daughter wrote as well. So it's very sweet. So yes, it's, as I say, it's worth just looking on just to read the 1-star review from my ex-husband. I'm gonna have to do a talk on that at some point, because as you can imagine, he has that lovely problem of narcissism. So it shines through beautifully on there. You just like, because he even invites everybody to get in touch with him for the real story. I don't even talk about him in the book. I don't even talk about him. So it's quite amusing, and he involves our sons as well. Of course he does. So we roll on, and I wanted to present at Hypnothoughts Live. So I got my first slot. That was a couple of years ago, and I got to do a 20-minute presentation on the bunny talk process, on the communication skill. So about anchoring, really, and how important that is. And I told my story. And afterwards, I had a couple of big presenters come up to me and say, "Are you going to make that into a course?" And I said, "No." And I said, "Because anybody can do shadow puppets." And they said, "All right, well, if you don't, I will." And I went, "No, that's my story, mine and my daughter's story." And I told my daughter, and she went, "Mummy, they can't, it's ours." So I'm like, okay. So I did. And I thought, well, okay, I can easily make this into a course to train to other people, because I see children. And I thought, well, okay, what do I do? Well, when I see a child, because I often, and maybe you do, I don't know if anybody else here works with children, I get the parents saying, "Can you fix my child?" And I often think, I could fix you though. So, okay. So within the course, I have it, and it's a big framework of how I work, basically. And it's the bits of how you deal with a parent, okay? Because, as like I've just said, it's often not the child, it's the environment the child is in. So I invite them in, and I'm going to share with you now one of the diagrams that I draw, okay? And I think you'll all find this really useful. So if anybody's got pens and paper, you can copy this down. So this is something that I do draw for my parents. And there's a whole host of other diagrams as well. But I say this is like the first triangle of life, if you like. And I get a lot of my stuff from Beryl Comer. She's one of my mentors, if anybody knows Beryl. So your mind is eager to learn, your body is eager to get going, and your soul is brand new and shiny from Soul World. And then when these all overlap, we draw a little Venn diagram here. We have this lovely bit in here called balance and harmony. Now, if children are lucky, that is what they get. Play, 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 Christmas birthdays, play, 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 Christmas birthdays, something like that anyway. And we all know that actually a lot of our clients don't get that. But most of my clients, so just say we're dealing with the parents here, they go, yeah. And I go, and then we go to school. And oh dear, we have expectations. Now, with the best one in the world, of course, because remember, I'm working with the parents right now. I say to them, we all have expectations of our children. You know, we expect them to brush their teeth, come down when we call them for dinner, and we expect them to do their homework. However, some parents, I say to my parents, put on their children, "Why didn't you get the A star? Why didn't you make honor roll?" They did. Start comparing to the other siblings, maybe, or to their friends. "Why didn't you make the soccer team?" They did. And then you start getting the parents going, "Ooh." Or they may even say, "Oh, that happened to me. Oh, I do that as well." Okay, now we're building the awareness. This is why, in my opinion, it's really important to see the parents as well as the child. Sometimes you might not even have to see the child. So expectations leads to disappointments. Because again, in my opinion, children, I see so many adults now who go, "I'm broken, I've been in therapy for years, nothing can fix me, I've been on this since I was such and such an age." I'm sure we've all heard the stories. And it's like, so they think they're broken. And they're not. They probably just should never have gone to therapy in the first place. And then because they start telling other stories, and then they get deleted and distorted. Anyway, these expectations lead to disappointments, and some children put them on themselves. It's not the parents. Some children get it from their teachers or their peers, but it leads this triangle. And we have anger, fear, and guilt. Okay, I'm just going to put that there. And the anger feeds the fear, and the fear feeds the guilt, and the guilt feeds the anger, and the fear feeds the anger, and the anger feeds the guilt, and the guilt feeds the fear, and it goes every which ways. Goes every which ways. And that is a horrible triangle to live in. Horrible triangle. Now I say my job is to get you back to balance and harmony as best as possible, or to help their child get back to balance and harmony as best as possible. The parents now, by this time, because of my other diagrams that I draw, they're all going, oh, and because they start making it about themselves, because most people do, okay? And I say, but my job is to get people back to balance and harmony as best as I can. And we do that through acceptance. And that's acceptance of yourself and acceptance of others. Forgiveness. Forgiveness of yourself and forgiveness of others. Yes. However, I do say to people, it's not my job to tell you to forgive other people, because who am I to say you must forgive people? This is in my opinion. Okay. I know we all know it's a good place for people to be, is to be able to forgive. However, I do see a lot of people who have been abused, and who am I to say, go forgive them? No. The bunny talk process has a way of helping people get to a place of indifference. So I use bunny eye movements. As I say, I've done IEMT, I'm a certified healing practitioner, blast technique practitioner. I've drawn all the best bits and I've made my own, okay? Which is the bunny talk, eye movements, okay? And bunny takes it out. And that's, again, what I'm now train in the bunny talk process. So I get people to a place of indifference so that they find it easier to forgive. So, and then letting go, because that is what I am really good at helping people do. And that is what I'm training other people to do now too. And then moving on, that is what they get to do. That is what they get to do. So parents are always like, oh, wow, you can do that. Now I train this, and the emotional intelligence, as I say, my version, to my teenagers as well. I see, like, I've got a teenager straight after this actually, and she loves it. And guess what else I'm now doing? I'm doing it for adults, for their inner child, because I had no idea, right? I was at where was I? Heartlands, and I had Larry Garrett there, and goodness knows who else there. And I was doing it on somebody, because I use great big bits of paper that people lie down on. I draw around their body, or the parent draws around the child, of course. And then we sit down, then they mark where the issue is. And I was doing this at Heartlands, and somebody immediately regressed into their inner child. And we were able to clear stuff from their child. I have now been doing this with my adult clients who have inner child, so like perfectionism issues. And it's quite interesting. We have been, so we're on the floor, because we're on the floor when we do the bunny talk process. And as in the, just drawing around the body and things. Again, I haven't got much time to do it on here. So I talk about it at some conferences, or I'm now training it. I'm training it in Ireland soon, and with Dan Candell actually in March. Dan and I are doing it 22nd and 23rd in March in Boston. So I'm excited about that. It is now going to be 2 days training, because I want everybody to really get it. But I was with a man the other day, and he said, we're on the floor. And then he said, oh, can we sit back up? And I said, of course. So we sat back up. He sat back up on his sofa, and I sat back up on my chair. And we started doing some of the other work. And he went, oh no, can we get back down again? Brilliant. Because he felt more into his child then. And, and then because it's a tool, the bunny eye process is a tool, I then afterwards, within the hypnosis, I did parts work with him. And again, he was able to, and he was in a bad place. His therapist sent him to me. I get actually a lot of referrals from therapists, and I've got a psychologist who sends me clients as well, who she can't help because she worked with me, and in fact they both have, and they know how I work. And this is now what I want to share to everybody else, because it works effectively and efficiently. And we all know that it's all hypnosis. And when I'm doing a lot of the work with children, and I do bring in cuddly toys, to check the works. I say, tell me a story. And with the various cuddly toys, I have snakes. I have not real snakes. I have plastic spiders, and I have a little plastic hammer. And then they can change the story after I've done the bunny eye movements and Bunny's taken it out. And then we also anchor in the good feelings. I mean, it's just a wonderful process, and I am really, really excited to train it to people, because it works. It works, and it works really effectively and efficiently. But then they tell a good little story afterwards. This is my new little bunny that I'm actually going to take on journeys with me. So I'm going to have him as like it. So if you see pictures of me with the bunny, you know he's on a journey. He's quite cute, isn't he? So yeah, it's just such a nice thing, and children love it. The children love it. I had a 9-year-old in here the other day, and we set up the shadow puppets. We set up the anchors, and we did the bunny eye movements, and we helped him with these big emotions, which he then changed out on his paper. I don't know if anybody just does online work. If you do, then you just use, let me just get my paper again. Then you just use a gingerbread man. It's just as effective. I don't see children online though, not little ones. I might see a teenager online, say 12 and up. But you would just do, and then they draw theirs, and then you copy how they've drawn it. And again, it's like the feeling, the sound, the color, everything that they you VAKG it, you get all the senses. But anyway, it's a very cool process, and I give people a really good framework of how to help people. So you've got the parents, the child. You then get them wanting to come in for sessions, because they'll have their issues to clear probably as well. And so yeah, so it's actually, as I say, it's a really good workshop to do, and it gives a really good framework, and I love it. So any questions?
I have a question.
Yeah.
So I used to see kids in Montana, and I haven't since I moved to North Carolina, but I'm thinking that I might start opening my home office back up to do local, in person. So I might start seeing kids again. And the thing that most teens and adolescents came for, and I think it's directly because of the pandemic, the social anxiety issues. So is that something that this is really helpful for, have you found?
So if they can feel it in their body, then we all know you can heal it.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I don't go around saying I'm a healer, because I actually say that they have all the answers inside of them, and they can. But if they can feel that pit of loneliness, or that wherever it is in their body, and then yes, because it's a feeling, probably a feeling of whatever they've got, then absolutely, then you can take it out. If you're with an adult, you won't necessarily use the bunny, you just use your finger.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, just basic EMDR, IEMT type stuff.
Yeah.
Oh, how elegant. I love this. I will probably be taking your course, actually, if I start seeing kids here again. It's always good to have as many tools as you can for,
Oh yeah, and have the whole, yes, because it is a whole framework of how to work. And then plus, I've always say this, then make it your own. You'll remember it the way you want to, and you might go, I don't like that bit, but I really like that bit. And then you think, oh, I've got that bit though, I can add that bit in. It's all interchangeable. And there'll be some other clients that you work with that you adults, you just go, I want to use these drawings, I want to use these emotional intelligence diagrams with them, because it's like a such a brilliant pre-talk into clients going, oh, that's why I behave the way I do. Oh, because we are not our behaviors, we are our good intention. And that's what all of these diagrams do. They give everybody those light bulb moments so that they can create change.
So when you're doing the pre-talk, are you doing it with the parent and the child at the same time?
So
how the parent is getting this information and making the connections?
Yeah, with a teenager, I am, if they get on. Okay, if they get on. It's so some parents are really happy just to go, just sort them out.
Yeah.
Just sort them out.
And those are usually the ones I found that need the help the most.
Yeah.
So,
and but I did so every so and that's all in the as I say in within the course of how to deal with that, because there's so many different case studies, if you like. Well, what would you do in this scenario? What would you do in this scenario? And that's as I say, all in the course. I had one child, and again, remember, we can't always help. We have to understand the whole hubris thing. I can fix everybody. No, we can't always help everybody. I did have quite a sad case. This mother called me up, going, I want you to fix my son. I hate him. I don't like him at all. He's angry. He's nasty. He hurts people. And she was swearing while she was telling me this. And I just said, okay. I said, I want to see you and your husband first. And they did. They came in. I had to sage my room big time after that. Okay. That was horrible. It was heavy as anything. His anger. And the chat. And so I wanted to know about the pregnancy. Like, what did the baby hear? Well, he used to beat her up while she was pregnant. And she was a cop. The swearing was just like unbelievable. And then they were telling me that there were this boy was lucky not to have his face punched in, because there were holes right next to where his face would have been in the wall. And I'm like, and of course we don't judge, we don't do any of these faces, do we? We're just going, okay. And what did you learn? And what can we do now? And what can we do better? What can we do different now? Because you're here, you're clearly for change. We do that sort of thing. And the mother did. She stopped saying, just do your fucking laces up. Sorry if I've offended anybody with that, but that's what I had to hear. And I said, how about, for a clever boy, I'm going to leave you a moment to do your own laces while I go and do this. I know, and just leave him to it. Because we all know again that by this time, he's probably doing it for attention. He probably quite likes her swearing at him in some kind of weird way, because he's getting a rise out of her. He's 10. He can do his laces up. It's just really, because it's like, anyway, I saw him. Nice boy. However, you can see there's probably a side to him. But I know that there's still stuff going on. It's the environment, and they could only afford so many sessions, or they only chose to afford so many sessions. They've got a huge house somewhere down there, and I know they can, but it's like, because they're from New Jersey over here in North Carolina, and it's but it's what you choose to spend your money on, isn't it? But when because I draw around she drew around her child's body, and then she filled his face in. Yeah. And I just went, and I was like, I was going, oh. Anyway, when she left, I said, right, how do you want your face? And he changed it, because she actually even said, this is how I like his hair. So we know, very controlling mother. I learned loads. I gave them tools. She did read my ebook. She did call me up straight afterwards, and she said, I cried, and I did. I got him and I held him and I hugged him and I told him I'm sorry and that I'll do better. What can we can all only do what we can do. We can all only do our best, and hopefully things will go through. But yeah, quite interesting, isn't it? But any questions? I'm here for it's opens it up for more you know, of how else I can help. Yeah, go for it.
I do work with, I was a high school teacher for several years before I had kids. And so now in this new chapter of my profession, I am working with some teenagers. I find that I'm doing a lot of sports performance. You know, there's so much pressure on teen athletes and, you know, the pressure they put on themselves, not even just from everybody else, and so on and so forth. But one of the things I'm looking to branch out into is teenage groups. And
Okay.
I've designed a little bit of a program, like a 5-week program, to help them with what I would call emotional mastery. That's just the term I've come up with. But just to, because when you're in a group as a teenager, your friend group is, you know, everything, of course, right? Your parents are nothing anymore, or mostly nothing. And so my concept here is for them to grab a friend, 5 friends, whatever, and they come as a group so that they can evolve together as a group. Because if you change the way you make your choices, you're either not going to like the group anymore, or they're not going to like you, right? And that whole thing. And so when I hear you talk about your process, and I've heard a lot of people speak so fondly of it, I'm thrilled. Thank you, Krista, for hosting this, and thank you, Claudia, for making the time. I wonder whether incorporating something like a shadow talk, you know, as a skill, like even to talk to your friends about things that are hard to talk about, right? Because you know, kids have complex home lives and complex, you know, blah blah blah, and a lot of kids prefer not to talk about things even to their own friends.
Yeah, and absolutely you can. What I'm hearing there as well is that because you do your own emotional intelligence mastery, and I think that's brilliant. These diagrams you would love, and because they love them, because one of them involves the word sperm. So that's
What's funnier than sperm?
Oh, and then poo. I talk about poo on the brain. Got this from Carl Smith, of course.
Yeah.
It's absolutely brilliant, and that because everybody loves poo and wee. Okay,
Right.
So this is how I explain it to the little kids. It's like got poo on your brain, and I go, it's not very nice, is it? And they go, no. And I go, should we take the poo off? And they go, yes. So that's what the eye movements does. It takes the poo off the brain. And you explain it. Obviously, that's to the little ones.
Sure.
To the big ones, it's like, yeah, you use their words.
Right.
So saying shit, say shit.
Right. Sure.
If you get on their level. But oh my gosh, yeah, if you're really into that, you would love it, absolutely love it. Where do you live, Dana?
So I'm in California, in Los Angeles, a little beach town here in Manhattan Beach, and I'm just in the process of creating these groups. I've gone into the high school and taught they have peer counseling. I've taught them tapping, to be able to use tapping with their, you know, their peer groups and stuff. And I want to design a school assembly to go around to schools on a large scale and teach emotional intelligence type things, because the videos are still showing in the schools as the cheesy suicide videos that maybe you guys were shown as kids, like, I want to kill myself. Don't do that. I have to tell the principal. Okay, I won't kill myself then. I mean, that's literally 2024. My 10th grader came home and described the video, and that's literally what they're showing students, still 16-year-olds, that, but I'll have to tell on you if you're gonna kill yourself. Well, then I won't do it.
Do you know what else is like really important for us to teach if you're doing that? Is boundaries.
Yeah, that's part of the, yes.
That is
Yes.
would be phenomenal.
Yeah.
Yes. So you would probably be better off. I mean, unless you come over because I know I'm training it in Boston and then probably Chicago. But I will be doing an online one, probably, I don't know, maybe in May or June, 2 days. That probably be suit you best. And I just did it again this Saturday. So it's and you know, because I have people from England on it as well. But that's that you would, yeah. And I make sure because it's going to be 2 days now, I'm going to make sure everybody understands how to draw the diagrams and how to really say this to different people, and they all had a go. But you would love it. You would absolutely love it. And then you'll tweak it. And then, yes, of course, because the whole thing of the shadow puppet is dissociated out of the body, and they could create their own. What do you want, guys? Do you want a crocodile, a snake, a bunny, a bird? What do you want? But they could, or bring in your toy, bring in your, you know, kids still do have this squishy squishmallows, and they'll bring it in, and then they start, you know, they bring it out of them so that it's not them, so it's dissociated, so it is easier to say. Or again, you could start doing drama, doing little scenarios of pretend, you know, imagine this, imagine, oh my gosh, my mind's going da, 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 da. I love it. I love all the things that you could do. I'm excited for you. And well done. That's you know, that's really big. Yeah, what a gift for your area.
Well, of course, there's more I want to say, but is that somebody else's turn? Thank you.
Yeah, no, thank you. Any questions, anybody?
Oh, I love your take on this. It's beautiful.
Thank you. And when I work with people, it's content free. Because and this is what people were amazed at when I was doing this training it on Saturday. People were going, you don't hear the story. We don't, in my opinion, we don't need to hear the story. The person knows it. They know where it is in their body. They know the words they want to associate to it. And they know whether it's smelly, whether it's heavy, whether it's cold, whether it's got a sound. They know whether it's scratchy or spiky. They know all of that. So when you get them, you know, sort of like involved into it, associated into it. And then when you do the eye movements and the various ones and saying, the super suggestions that I train, then the bunny takes it out. And then when they come up, and then eventually they get to the good things, and then we anchor the good word in, and then the bunny gives it back again, the good word, like happy or whatever it is, or you are worthy, or you are lovable, or whatever it is. So it's just, it's you know, I'm very excited about it. Thank you. Any other questions, anybody?
No, I just really love it too. It's brilliant. I love especially that it does bring the parents into the conversation without them feeling attacked or judged. It sounds like anyway, because that's what I ran into when I was working with adolescents and teenagers. I didn't work with anybody under the age of 8, but 8 and up. But running into, you know, like an example, I had this one gal, she was 11 and ever so slightly overweight, but at that age they go out and up and out and up, and you can't say somebody's fat at 11 unless it's like morbidly obese, but like that was not the case at all. But her mother was so just kind of obsessed with body image, her own and her daughter's, and living through her daughter and not wanting her daughter to experience all of the, you know, mocking and bullying that she felt like she had experienced as a kid from her parents. Here she was kind of doing it. So anyway, the daughter was the sweetest thing, and she had great self-esteem, and she was going out for school plays. And she finally admitted to me, like, the only reason that she was even kind of behaving that way at the dinner table and wanting like extra dessert and stuff was because she knew it pushed her mom's buttons so much, and she kind of liked that sense of power and control. And she was like, yeah, well, you know, if she's going to keep like harassing me anyway, I might as well enjoy it. So if I'm not supposed to have that extra cookie because it freaks her out so much, she's like, it's such an easy little thing to do, to go have the extra cookie and then watch her freak out. And so I was trying to talk to the mom about this and say, like, there is a dynamic going on here. It's a cycle, and you need to, understand your participation in it for this to stop. And she was almost on the verge of just yanking her daughter out of even having sessions with me because she didn't want to hear that. So
Yeah,
this sounds like
put it
it would be a great way of bridging that in a like, I wasn't trying to judge her or I was just like, there's a dynamic here. Your daughter is taking advantage of the fact that you're so sensitive about this stuff. I would like to work with you too. And she's like, well, I'm not the problem. I'm like,
yeah, no, you're quite
give me
right.
that face, but I felt that way.
This here, you can see them going ding ding, oh,
Yeah.
and then they start to take responsibility. And then, because as I say, there's other diagrams which are, I mean, it's all in the course, but they go, oh, yeah, and then they start to tell me, and I go, well, you could do this, or what does this sound like instead? Or yeah, I get it. And you agree with them on some things. Depends whatever it is that they come up with. I did have a client who was brought a daughter. This was way back in England, and her daughter was very a real perfectionist. And I said to the mother privately afterwards, I said, please, will you watch that? Because I actually knew her from school as well. We'd gone to boarding school together. I said, because I knew what she was like as a teenager, I said, you be careful with her. I said, I hope you are being nice to yourself now. I said, because she could, I would be potentially concerned right now that she could become a anorexic, because I know what you were like at school. You were very picky, and she always still puts herself down. And I kept saying to her, please stop putting yourself down, because your daughter is a mirror image. She was a mirror image of her. So the mother is putting herself, oh, I'm so fat. And she's not at all. And it's just like, and then, so what is her daughter thinking? And sure enough, do you know what she did? Her daughter got anorexia because she didn't stop doing that.
And her sponges, they just absorb everything.
Yeah, monkey see, monkey do.
I had an eating disorder for the very same reason. My mother's also very body image oriented and has those big N tendencies that you were talking about with your husband earlier. Anyway, diagnosably, I'm sure. But I remember being a little girl and watching her stare at herself in the mirror and put herself down, and me thinking, oh, that's what you're supposed to do when you grow up. That's what being a woman is all about. And so as soon as I started like having more feminine features growing up, going into puberty, I was like, oh, I'm supposed to hate myself now. Okay, I better start doing that. I was a pretty happy kid until I was like, oops, I grew up. And I have, just from having so many sessions with, people with eating disorders, specifically anorexia, there is an element of never wanting to grow up that comes with that, because yeah.
Yep.
I definitely had that for sure. I was like, oh God, I don't,
I did. I had a boy who was 15. He looked like an 8-year-old, starving himself. And then I got to the root of it, and it was he didn't want to grow up because his parents went on and on, or he could hear them arguing about money and the responsibilities and this and that and that. And I had the telephone comment. I said, can you kind of bring in, it's fun to adults, it's fun to grow up, all the fun things that you get to do. And I said, can you just start changing your language at home? And I'd never know if that made a difference, because again, they chose he was so bad in the end that he was hospitalized. But very sad indeed.
Hypnosis is very effective for eating disorders, but it takes a few. I find
they've got to come. They've actually got to
overnight.
They've got to
have many layers to deal with.
I'm seeing a girl at the moment. She's got ARFID, and I'm using the bunny talk process with her because she's had it and she's loving it. And actually, she tried new foods at Thanksgiving.
That's fantastic.
I know. So it's very, very exciting. So there's lots we can do, but they've got to come.
And I also love that you started off by saying, get over the hubris. I am just so over there's particular groups where, and it's mostly guys, no offense, Kesh, I'm sure you're not like this, but it's mostly men and they're just like, I can do no wrong, I'm the greatest that ever was, and I have a 100% success rate with every single person. And I'm just like, there's no way. There's no way you have a 100% success rate because there's too many variables involved, first of all.
Or you haven't worked with enough people.
Or you haven't worked with enough people. Yeah. Right, exactly. Yeah, the statistics are not being accurately represented there. But yeah, so I'm glad that you were just like, hey, you know, just it's not about us, right? We are not the main character in our sessions. Hello.
We do
I'm
our
glad
best.
that you have that same understanding. Yeah.
Yeah, we do our best.
This is brilliant. Oh, I think Anne wants to say something. Anne.
Hi,
Yes.
Anne.
Hiya. Could I ask a question? It's about Munchausen's by proxy.
Oh,
Recently, I had a client, 15-year-old girl with functional neurological disorder, but it was like her validation came from her mum, and the symptoms were like almost like coming from her mum, and what she was doing was coming, and it was almost like the girl couldn't speak for herself. She just turned like, and mum would speak for her. And I did withdraw because I kind of felt as if this girl needed another couple of years to be independent of her mum before she was ever going to be able to get anywhere with this. But it made me feel like I'd failed her. And I'm wondering, is there something that I could have done differently, or that I could have done in order to segregate or separate her from being her mother's shadow, basically her mother's puppet?
I would have got
living her
curious
mum.
about, and I'd have got curious about her identity and asked how do you identify yourself, because she has to separate. And it sounds now though as though she's literally identified herself as either a little mini me or a little, that's what she is, you know. And it's really sad. It's really sad, Anne. You did your best.
What would you suggest for Munchausen's by proxy? You know it's not the person,
education.
It's genuinely the mother.
Yeah, it's the education. And that's why I do this bit at the beginning. You get the parent in, and you as I say, you do it really nicely with these diagrams, and then they go, oh, okay. And because what went on for her, I would also make it about her then and say, let's clear your issues, let's clear your poop, your landscape, and clear that up. Because once she's cleared, then she won't need to do this Munchausen's thing with her daughter. And so yeah, the mother needs to be seen first.
Yeah, I would agree with you totally. Yeah, thank you for that. And thank you for your talk. I've really enjoyed it. It's been interesting.
We have 3 minutes left though, and I'm going to put you on the spot for a moment, Claudia. When there's time, I always ask this one question of everybody, which is, tell us about whatever the first one that comes to mind, the most interesting, surprising, shocking, exciting situation that you've ever had with your bunny talk process. Like, what's something that just you were like jaw on the floor, like, wow. There you go.
Okay. Yeah, it was actually when I had somebody literally revert into their inner child. And they just went, and you could see them regress. And so could everybody else. And it was just like there was, and it was at Heartlands actually. And I think I've already mentioned this, but it was so jaw-dropping, like you literally said, because we all just went, oh, this isn't just for children. This is for inner child work as well. And there was silence as we could see her get rid, change. And we were able to clear that big lump of grey metal in her solar plexus that she carried around. And she you know, she got a really nice testimony. She just went, I'd forgotten that was even there. So her adult had suppressed it, but through playing, because we were playing and on the floor and using colorings and toys, she actually just suddenly started going little. And then she went, there's there. And she was like, and it was just like, okay. and she, because we're all hypnotists, so we can go, you know, not necessarily afraid of doing that sort of thing in front of each other. We cleared it, and it was just like, oh my gosh. And then we just had that realization, this is big.
That's beautiful. Thank you so much for sharing that. I love this. I love everything about this. So I'm going to be taking the training myself. Do you only teach it live in person?
No, so it'll be, I'll be doing an online one now. I just haven't set any dates yet.
Okay, well, make sure you keep me posted, and then we can also put it in the Hypnotherapy Uncensored group as well, and make sure anybody who would like to participate, you know, has that opportunity. So
thank you. I am training it in Ireland though. So if anybody's going to
and
the Ireland,
this is going to be both in the Hypnotherapy Uncensored group feed as well as on our YouTube channel. So feel free to like send it out to everybody that is on your mailing list, and you know, share it far and wide. And yeah, I think that this this protocol needs to just be out there in everyone's hands. It sounds beautiful.
Yeah, it's a brilliant tool. It's just like one that you can, as I say, a little bit of this or a little bit of that, and yeah, it's great. Thank you for having me on. Thank you so much, Chrissa.
I'm sorry, it took 4 months, I think, right?
We got there. We got there.
Trying to do it, and it just never worked out. So I'm so glad.
Nice Christmas one.
Very, yes. Happy holidays, everyone. This is the last spotlight of the year. We will see you in January. So merry, happy everything, and we'll see you next year.
Yeah, and I've got a Facebook group. You can all, you know, just friend me on Facebook. Friend me on Facebook. You'll find me. There is.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, Chrissa.
Yeah, take care.
Merry Christmas.
Bye-bye.
Merry Christmas, everybody. Thank you.